folks, welcome to Set Apart Homestead. This is Travis here at the Prepared Homestead. I think I'm going to take a walk and bring you along with me. I had a little tripod-y thingy that held my phone and made it easier, but it's broken. Haven't got it replaced. So it's a slightly more complicated, but I think I can handle it. Man. Just when I say I'm not going to follow the news or see what's currently going on, then I check, and then I get furious. And while I'm somewhat joking, there's a lot of truth to it also. Are we watching the last fragments of our freedom go away? I was reading, and I cannot remember the date and everything, but it was within the last few days. There was an article run on a church service from last Sunday, last week ago. Yesterday was a Sunday, but I'm referring to the one before that. And I guess the police came in and ticketed churchgoers for going to church against the quarantine orders, and I'll go into some detail of that in a minute. And it was by the order of the mayor of the town, and I was surprised the governor of that state, and I'm pretty sure it was Kentucky, really spoke out against that, against what the mayor and the police did. And he basically said something that I've said many times and others have said in history, that when you give government power to handle an emergency, it's very rarely that they give it back. And all along with this pandemic that's going on, I've been talking about it for months, and that yeah, we should definitely be concerned and be on our toes with just the pandemic, because I think it's definitely a dangerous one. I think it's certainly something that could cause a lot of havoc, and from my training and experience, I think that it's probably comes from some lab. There's too many things that they're finding. But anyways, that's a subject for another video. The thing that I've been really trying to get people to wake up about is that there's far more things that happen during a pandemic and what I felt would happen during this pandemic than just the risk of catching this illness, this virus. And for many people, it has been, caused a lot of illness and damage to their lungs and organs, and many even have died. But as bad as that is, I sticking to my guns on this, that the things that are happening, that will happen, are far worse than the virus itself. There's the financial aspect and the job loss in the market and all that, and I'll probably make another video just for that because it kind of stands on its own. But this one, I want to talk to you about what most of you probably already know, and that is the loss of freedoms that some of it, it's even surprised me. When this first started, back before it hit here in the US, when it was mostly just in China, I had told my wife this. I said, I'm noticing something. It was in China, and then it started to have some problems in South Korea, a few other countries over there. It really hadn't hit us here yet. But I noticed that in the news kept pointing out that when there were cases in a church, such and such church, and there were 50 some odd cases in this church, and they were spreading it because they all went to church together, and making it sound like that it's just such a big horrible deal. These people are going to church and they're spreading it at the church. Well, how many people are spreading it by, were spreading it, and maybe still are, probably still are, spreading it by just going to work? before schools closed, colleges, people were spreading it there. All sorts of places. I mean, you can still go to the store, and even though they're limiting a lot of things, and we'll get into that also, they're still spreading it there. But yet the news media always had to point out when there were cases out of a church. And now, here we are, we're seeing police across the country going to church services, and we're not talking people that are really in violations of this social distancing. A lot of these churches are having drive-in services, kind of like the old drive-in movie theater, where you're sitting in your car and you're probably listening to the service through the radio or maybe a loudspeaker. So you're completely social distancing. You're in no contact with anyone else. And the police are coming in and issuing them tickets. There's been pastors arrested. People have been warned. I noticed yesterday, which for a lot of Christian churches was Easter, the police issued warnings in one particular town in Mississippi that anyone that went to the services, the sunrise services, would have to be under forced 14-day quarantine, and if they chose to not abide by that, they would use stricter methods to make them be in quarantine. In other words, you just lost all your freedom because the people that have guns and authority are going to take them away from you. That's what that means. We're seeing this in other things. I mean, I know it's not a constitutional right to buy seeds, but it is a basic right and basic need to be able to have food, to be able to, or should be able to grow your own food. And that's something that I believe, and that many others. So just because it's not explicit in the Constitution, I believe that you could make a good argument there. And you're not able to buy seeds. I mean, you can go to the liquor store and buy booze, but you can't buy seeds in a lot of places. Someone pointed out in, I can't remember which state it was, one of the states that marijuana is legalized, that it's legal to purchase marijuana there, but it is now illegal to purchase seeds. And I understand the argument that they make of like, well, we're trying to limit the amount of people going into Walmart. So if you're just going in there to pick up some seeds, then we're going to just stop letting you buy seeds, or stop letting you buy, garden tools or fishing equipment or, various other things. Because we want to limit the amount of people going in the store. We're seeing that even out here in the sticks where we live, where they're limiting the amount of people going in stores. I heard someone say in another video, and I totally agree with him. He said, what we are, folks, we are already under martial law. May not have been declared. It may not be an official legal designation of martial law, but we are most definitely living under a soft form of martial law. And the only way that it's happening, the only way that they're getting away with it, is because the masses of people have become such sheep that the slightest fear of anything, they will hand over what's left of their rights to those that control things and beg them for their safety, beg them to continue and take away more, because all they want is to feel safe and secure. They don't care about freedom. They don't care about their personal liberties. They don't care what it's going to do for future generations, that we're creating a larger government, a more powerful government. We are moving rapidly, might I add, not slowly, rapidly, to a totalitarian new world order. I know, a lot of you are probably like, oh, this guy's a quack job, talking about new world order and stuff. Folks, it's not a conspiracy theory. The media would have you to believe that. But just a slight bit of research, and you'll find out that it's a very true thing and a very true motive. And we're moving quite rapidly nowadays. You know, when I was younger, you knew about it. You knew that the government was kind of pushing towards that and certain politicians, but it was a slow progress. Slowly heating up that skillet that the little froggy's in. Well, guess what? That skillet has now reached its optimal temperature. That's right, we are now being cooked. We're not just sitting there slowly warming up in that skillet. We are now being fried alive. That's what's happening in our country. And it's happening around the world too. And we should be concerned with that. I know a lot of people, there's kind of two arguments that I have seen predominantly online. And number one is what I've already said, that people are so terrified that they want it. Please save us. Please control us. Please control my neighbors. Please control all those around me so that we're all safe. That's probably the most predominant one. But the other one is, well, it's not happening here. We're good. I don't care. Out here in the sticks or my little town's not doing that. So why should I care? You should care. Even if it's not happening where you are, you should most certainly care. Even if it's not happening in the United States, there are many other countries out there that are very nearly as free as we are, and some even more. And when those countries that we consider friends and allies and other countries of liberty and freedom start to do things like we are here and rapidly taking away people's liberties under the guise of safety and away from this horrible virus that's taking everyone, then you should be worried. I saw in another country a news report of this one guy was out in a very remote wilderness area, camping in a tent by himself, okay? I mean, he's practicing the ultimate social distancing. And a police helicopter was flying over, saw him there, that he was breaking quarantine by being out there in the woods, and they landed the helicopter in a field and arrested him. Yeah. Because he was violating social distancing quarantine by being out in the woods by himself. I mean, it's just all over. Here in the United States, I believe it was up in Pennsylvania somewhere, a man was very violently pulled off of a city bus by police because he wasn't wearing a mask. Should he be wearing a mask? Yeah, he should be. Absolutely. He should be wearing a mask. Is he endangering himself? Yes. Is he endangering others? Yes. And so there's going to be a lot of people that's going to say, well, we should be doing that because he's endangering everyone. Well, that's true. But are you really okay with giving government that amount of authority to forcibly rip you out of a city bus because you're not wearing a surgical mask or a bandana or something around your face? What kind of world are we creating right now? I remember, and I've said this before on this channel a few times, so I'm going to say it again. Because if I say something enough, maybe it'll sink into a lot of people. The first thing that let me know when this virus was first happening, before it even took hold here in the United States, when our government officials were first starting to talk about it, I'd say back in February, maybe early March, but probably February, within about a 3-day period of time, I heard 2 or 3 officials with our government, or some type of representation of our government, all say basically the same thing. And they basically said that this virus will change America as we know it, or that we will never go back to normal again. Normal will no longer exist. It will be a new normal. America will change. I heard that several times. That was enough for me to realize that this wasn't just going to be some illness, some virus spreading around, making people sick and killing them. Even on a large level, it wasn't going to be just that. It was going to be something much worse. We were going to start seeing our economy crash. And then big government's gonna come in and they're gonna save the day. And they're gonna make all of you really safe because of all their rules and all their lockdowns and all the safety, social distancing measures that they put into place. And then they're gonna come in on a white horse with a vaccine that's gonna save the world. And in the end, you might survive it, but what you remember as being free and having personal liberties will be no more. Will it be that way in 12 months, 18 months after this? I don't know, maybe not. It may take a little longer. But I assure you, the things, the workings that are happening behind closed doors right now, all across this country, in every state, and in the capital, and in other countries, are using this virus, using this pandemic as a means to crush the last dying pieces of personal liberty. So folks, what are you gonna do about it? I don't know. It was once said that the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time by the blood of patriots and tyrants, that it is its natural manure. Are we coming to that time again where it needs to be refreshed? Quite possibly so. But I will tell you this, you folks need to be ready. Saw on the news today, Fed chairman said people need to be prepared to be under quarantine and a lock-in for at least 18 months, he predicted. He said 18 months. So while you may be hearing the president and other governors saying, well, we're going to try to get the economy back and going again, you better be prepared for at least 12 to 18 months of being locked in. Food plants are shutting down all over the country. Farmers are dumping food, letting it rot in the fields because they can't get rid of it. And while the argument may be, well, restaurants aren't open, that food would have been eaten and now it's not. So what that means is we're looking at food shortages, which is also being reported in the mainstream media. And many others are saying it. So folks, you need to get ready because this isn't just a virus. This isn't just an economic turndown or a recession. This isn't just the government coming in and kind of doing some social distancing policies. This is the world as you know it changing right before your eyes. I've told my children already. Kids, you need to take notice of what's going because history is happening right before your eyes. Do what you can. Protect your family and get yourselves ready. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.